Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. We from the group 6 computer system will presentation about incomplete independent clause. My name is Muhammad Reza Arrafi as moderator and my partner Muhammad Athar, Althariq, Irawan, Putra Osama and Sriwahyuni. Okay. First, we go on to our presentation by Muhammad Athar.
Okay, thank you Reza for this opportunity, and now I'm going to talk about part of speech. Adjective. Adjective is a word or phrase naming an attribute, added or grammatically related to a noun to modify or describe it. Words like gentle, helpful, small, tall, green, and beautiful, hard are some of examples of descriptive, and they are all examples of adjective, because adjectives are used to identify or quantify individual people and unique things. They are usually positioned before the noun or pronoun that they modify. Some sentences contain multiple adjectives. Noun. Noun is a part of speech that names an idea, place, things, person, or quality. The examples are Franklin, boy, Yangtze River, shoreline, Bible, death, fear, and happiness. All nouns can be classified into two groups of nouns, common or proper. Common nouns are more generalized by comparison, and they can be further divided into abstract, collective, compound, countable concrete, uncountable concrete, and verbal. Proper nouns refer to the individual name of a person, place, or thing. SpongeBob, Kawasaki, and Ninja are some examples of noun. Adverb. Adverb is a word or phrase that modifies or qualifies adverbs, adjective, or other adverbs of word group, expressing a relation of place, time, circumstance, manner, cause, degree, and etc. The examples are almost, gently, helpfully, someday, quiet, then, or there. Verbs are words that show an occurrence, action, or state of being. We, become, ban, inflate, run are some of the examples of verbs. Almost every sentence requires a verb. The basic form of a verb is known as infinitive. The forms called love, break, and go are all infinitives. Now, let me talk about clause. A clause is the basic unit of grammar. A clause must contain a subject and verb. Typically, a clause is made up of a phrase and sometimes a complement. The examples are I graduated last year. One clause sentence. When I came here, I saw him. Two clause sentence. When I came here, I saw him and he greeted me. Three clause sentence. Now, I'm going to talk about independent and dependent clause. Independent clause. Independent clause is a clause that can stand alone as a sentence. It could be a group of words that contain subjects and verb and expresses a complete thought. The examples is Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. A dependent clause. Dependent clause is a group of words with a subject and verb. It doesn't express a complete thought, so it's not a sentence and can stand alone. These clauses include adverbs clauses, adjective clauses, and noun clauses. Often, a dependent clause is marked by a dependent marker word. The example is when Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. Blank, blank, blank. What happened when he studied? The thought is incomplete. A dependent marker word. Dependent marker words are words that added into the beginning of an independent clause that could make it is a dependent clause. If, when, while, after, although are some of the examples. Okay, I think that's all for my time. Now, let's go back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you Muhammad Athar for your presentation. Next, we go on to the presentation by Putra Osama.
Okay, thank you moderator for this time. Now we're talking about sentence. Okay, to understand what a sentence is, first we must know the definition of the sentence. So, the definition is the larger unit of any language. A sentence, it begins a capital letter and ends with a full stop or a question mark or an exclamation mark. The sentence is generally defined as a word of a group of words. The sentence that expresses a truth idea by giving a statement or order or asking a question or exclaiming. Now I will give you 3 examples. Number 1, he is a good boy. This is a statement. Number 2, is he a good boy? This is a question. And number 3, what a nice weather. This is a exclaiming. So, a sentence requires at least one subject and one verb. Sometimes, the subject of a sentence can be hidden, but the verb must be visible and present in the sentence. Verb is called the heart of the sentence. Okay, important for us to remember. First, a simple sentence contains a subject and a verb. And the second, it expresses a single complete truth that can stand on its own. Okay, after we talking about sentence, now we will learn about compound sentence. So the definition of the compound sentence is consists of 2 independent clauses. A compound sentence joined by a comma, semicolon, or conjunction. Okay, I will give you 3 examples again. For example number 1, this house is too expensive and that house is too small. This is a compound sentence because it has 2 independent clauses. For the first independent clause is this house is too expensive, and the second independent clause is that house is too small. The sentence joined by a comma and the conjunction and. Okay, example number 2. The man took a vitamin pill and he drank a glass of orange juice. This is a compound sentence because it has 2 independent clauses. The first independent clause is the man took a vitamin pill, and the second independent clause, he drank a glass of orange juice. The sentence joined by a comma and a conjunction and. Okay, for example number 3, Judy lives in Northern California now, but she was raised in Ohio. Okay, the first independent clause is Judy lives in the Northern California now, and the second independent clause is she was raised in Ohio. The sentence is joined by a comma and conjunction and. Okay, important to remember about compound sentence. 1. A compound sentence has 2 independent clauses. An independent clause is a part of a sentence that can stand alone because it contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete truth. And basically, a compound sentence is a simple sentence. And the last, these independent clauses are joined by a conjunction for, and, but, or, yet, and so. Okay. And the last for my explanation, we will talking about a complex sentence. So first we must know the definition of the complex sentence. Okay, a complex sentence is consists of an independent clause and dependent clause. Independent clause called the main clause and dependent clause called subordinate. Okay, subordinate clause may be adverb clause, noun clause, or adjective clause. Now I will give you 3 examples. Example number 1. The man took a vitamin pill because he had a cold. This sentence is an independent clause and adverb clause. And example number 2. I didn't realize that Nancy was here. This is sentence, independent clause and noun clause. And number 3. Tom walks to his office, which is located on Broadway every day during the summer. The sentence is the independent clause and adjective clause. Okay, important remember about a complex sentence is a independent clause joined by one or more dependent clause. A dependent clause either like a subject or a verb, or has both a subject and a verb thus the equates a complete to. And a complex sentence always has a subordinator, like as, because, since, after, to, and when, or relative pronouns like who, dash, and which. Okay, I think enough for my explanation. So now I'm back to moderator, Muhammad Reza. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Putra Osama for your presentation. Next, we go on to the presentation by Sriwahyuni.
Hello guys, thank you presenter for this time. Now I will explain to you about clause with there and it. Okay, some clause begin with the introductory words there or it rather than with the subject or the sentence. So, these introductory words are something called expletive. The expletive there solve the someone or the something exercise, usually at a particular time or place. The sentence generally follow the pattern there plus verb to be plus subject. For example, there are many skyscrapers in New York City. So, the expletive it is used in a number of different situations and patterns. For example, the second, it is important to be punctual for appointment. So, with the verb to be plus adjective plus infinitive. Okay, next, I will explain to you about missing subject, verb, object, and complements. Okay, people is subject, need is verb, vitamin is object. The verb missing from an independent clause may a single word verb. Example: need, was, took, had, walked. Or a verb phrase consisting of one or more auxiliary verbs and a main verb. Example: will, need, has been, salted, would have had, and had worked. Okay, the verbs may be active. Example: need, take, or passive, or was needed in taken. The missing subject and direct object may be a noun. Example: people, vitamins, and Tom. A noun plus some. For most people, a vitamin pill, my friend Tom. Or pronouns. Example: he, she, it, and they are subject. Next, him, her, it, and them are object pronouns. After the verb to be and contain order on non-action verbs, a subject complement is used rather than a direct object. Or subject complement are also known as predicate nominates and predicate adjective. Okay, I think that's all for me. Now back to moderator.
Thank you Sriwahyuni for your presentation. And next, I will discuss a question about incomplete independent clause. Number 1. The art of storytelling almost as old as humanity. A. That is. B. Is. C. It is. And D. Being. The answer is B. Is. Because the art of storytelling is the subject of the sentence. Almost as old as humanity is a complete sentence. So, that what is missing from the sentence above is verb. The correct answer for the above sentence is B. Number 2. In Michigan, blank blank blank, over 600 feet deep. A. Salt deposit. B. Where salt deposits are. C. Having salt deposit. And D. There are salt deposit. The answer is D. Because in the above problem, we have to find an answer that contains both a subject and a verb, or to be. Now, only option D, where there is and where it meets this criterion, then the answer to this question is D. Now, we are almost in the end of the presentation. It is the conclude part. So, what we can conclude about the presentation is independent clause is the main clause, which is a collection of words that contains at least a subject and an object, or verb, and usually other components that make up a complete mind. Incomplete independent clause is the main clause that is not complete. To complete independent clause, we have to analyze some section of speech, and we must know what is missing or needed in the clause: adjective, noun, adverb, subject, and object, so that it becomes a complete clause. Okay, I think presentation is over. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next our presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.